San Jose, Nueva Ecija, may Isabela tayo, Cebu, and Cavite.
Nice.
Meron pong Quirino Province din, meron na rin. So, 3 minutes na lang, Sir James.
Oo. Ang Ilagan, binabagyo ata eh.
Opo, malakas daw.
Paring Joel eh. Jake nga pala, nag-email na ng phone number yung ano natin, yung ka-email natin.
Nagkausap na kami, Sir James. Attend din siya ngayon. Nabigyan ko rin siya ng link.
Okay, perfect.
Tapos, i-coordinate natin dun sa Bayambang State Leaders kasi wala pa tayong chapter doon. So, mag-work together kami ni Brother Wilson.
Para magkaroon ng chapter. Kapatid eh.
Yes,
pwede siyang umatin sa sa mga ano natin. We have 2 more minutes, my friend.
Yes, sir. 2 minutes na lang.
Galing.
So, naka-live na tayo ngayon.
Naka-live na tayo. Kita ko nga eh. Siguro yung next year, nagwe-webinar pa rin tayo. Ang haba na siguro talaga ng buhok.
Tama yun, sir.
Ikaw rin, Jake. Ang haba na ng buhok mo siguro. Pag nakahanap kami ng mapagkakatiwalaan naming
Nag-wave na yung aking haircut, hair ko, sir.
Sabi ni Lloyd, di mo ba ako pinagkakatiwalaan, James? Sabi ko, ang sagot ko dun, Lloyd, I trust you as my elders quorum president but not as my barber. Di ba? Di ba? At least,
Bigyan mo na ako ng chance, Sir James. Tutubo din naman ang buhok eh.
Oo, kaya lang.
Matindi si Lloyd talaga.
Elders Quorum President ko yan si President Lloyd eh. Kaya I trust him as my elders.
Magka-state po kayo?
Magka-word kami.
Oo, magka-word kami ni Papa Lloyd. Oo, Elders Quorum President ko yan. Kaya busy tao yan eh.
Tsaka high council man namin yan si Sir James.
High council.
Yan. Ako rin, sir. High council man din ako.
Oo nga. Si Randy Boy. Si Randy. High council din niya si Randy.
Yeah.
Dito sa stake namin. Stake kami yan.
Si Fred, bago lang tinawag.
Oo nga, tama pala. Si Capred nga pala. Ayan.
James, I think we can start now.
Oh, yes, my friend. Thank you so much.
5 o'clock is already set. Okay, so... Okay. To formally begin, we welcome you all and thank you for joining us for today's ACE webinar series. My name is Jake S. Cruz. I'm the Central Luzon Regional Coordinator at ACE Philippines. We would like to invite Sister Saraya Balucas from Ilagan Isabela chapter to give us the opening prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, we are so much grateful for this wonderful opportunity that Thou hast given us. We can attend to this afternoon's webinar. We're thankful for the mentors that are available to teach us how we can be healthy mentally while we are doing our business. We are thankful for the gospel and we are grateful for the Spirit. We are thankful for Thy love and for the guidance that Thou has always given us. We ask you at this time to please bless us that we may continue to apply the gospel in our lives. Help us that we may continue to apply everything that we are going to be learning this afternoon from our mentors, that we can be mentally healthy in order for us to fully support our family financially. We are thankful for the wonderful gospel and for the atonement of Jesus Christ. We ask thee for forgiveness of our sins, and these things we humbly ask and pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Sister Saraya, for the opening prayer. So, we will have 4 speakers today. The first speaker, Lloyd Gamba, is an ACE regional coordinator in Visayas area, and he will share with us his actual experience on how he helped a family member cope up with its mental health issues. The second speaker is Ma'am Cynthia Cantone. She will help simplify the technicalities of mental health issues. The third one is Sir James Pantone, who will tackle the practical side of mental health issues with beneficial tips to achieve a healthy mental lifestyle. And the last one is Cindy Cruz, who will lead us with a clinical perspective surrounding mental health issues. So now, I give the time to Lloyd first.
All right. Magandang hapon sa lahat, brothers and sisters. So I think I'll be sometimes talking in Cebuano, pero pipilitin ko makapag-Tagalog sa inyong lahat para magkaintindihan tayo since we are nationwide attended by our Academy alumni. So this afternoon, brothers and sisters, I'm going to share to you a very wonderful experience that would probably help every one of us as we try to help our family members, ourselves, and probably our friends who are struggling with depression. So let me just share with you my screen. So, okay. Wait lang po. All right, so it's really exciting because we have informed everybody that this afternoon we're gonna talk about the healthy mind of entrepreneur. And before I'm going to share with you my experience, I just would like to let you know that this quotation from World Health Organization, there is no health without mental health. It's this quotation is really true, brothers and sisters, because for me, if we are not healthy mentally, then our other health our other health aspects like our physical and other um, aspects sa buhay natin, maapektuhan din siya. So it's really important that we really have to have a good mental health. There's is this fact from WHO saying that it's really alarming global increase in mental health problems and that mental health conditions account for 16% of global burden of disease and injury in people aged 10 to 19 years old. So I'm mentioning this to you because probably you are having kids of 10 to 19 years old, and half of all mental health conditions start by 14 years of age, but most cases are undetected and untreated. And there is this risk of suicide highest in ages 15 to 24. So globally, depression is one of the leading causes of illness and disability among adolescents. Suicide is the third leading cause of death in 15 to 19 years old. And I just got this from the internet that there are 7 to 20% of Filipino adults who experience psychiatric disorder, and 10 to 15 years old are from Filipino children. And most common form of morbidity for Filipinos, so it's gonna be mental health as the third one. So now depression is really real. I can tell you that this is really real because a very close member in my family experienced this depression. So I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, but my brother really had an experience with the depression since he was really young. Okay, so just for you to know that my brother is a YouTuber and he has a 72.9 thousand subscribers, and that he's really a happy young guy. Magaling siya kumanta, magaling siya mag-gitara. I think he has that talent in music. And nagkaroon siya ng kanyang sariling YouTube channel. Nagkaroon din siya ng mga pakunti-kunting palabas sa TV, yung na-feature sa mga 24 oras, sa Jessica Soho, sa iba pang mga shows, yung kanyang mga nag-trending na mga video sa YouTube. So who would have thought that this brother of mine would experience the depression if we know him as a happy person? We knew him na siya yung nagpapatawa sa bahay namin. Hindi namin nakikita na meron pala siyang problema sa sarili niya. But it was 3 years ago when, well, hindi naman talaga kami magkakasama sa bahay since when I got into college, I already separated from my family. So I stayed here in Cebu. So sila sa Manila, sa Luzon, and then eventually bumalik ng probinsya namin. So when they came back to the province, my brother committed a suicide. So there were 3 attempts that he did. First one was yung nagbigti. So thankfully, hindi natuloy yung kanyang suicidal sa time na yun dahil maagang nakauwi yung isang kapatid ko. So nabutan siya in action doing that suicide. So medyo nandun na, muntik na. Actually, he got that something pain sa kanyang liig na dahil he was there already. Mabuti na lang hindi talaga mataas yung kanyang bigtian. So we're so thankful knowing na hindi naman siya natuluyan doon. So he was brought to the hospital and took some medication, even psychological medication. So nagkaroon din ng psychiatrist na nagkonsulta sa kanya at gumamot. But you know what, brothers and sisters, depression is really real. So hindi talaga basta-basta na lang nawawala itong depression sa buhay na merong depression, because after that first attempt, he then attempted to pasagasa naman. He was walking around on the streets, went to a park, but of course my parents were aware already of what is happening to him. So palagi siyang ginagabayan. Merong talagang friends na dapat nagiging companion niya, tumitingin sa kanya. So yun yung utos ng parents ko sa mga friends niya. Kasi hindi naman nakakausap ng ganun katagal yung kapatid ko because he is dumadaan sa depression. So hindi pa rin. So the second suicide was not successful, and we're thankful na hindi talaga nangyari yun. And on the third attempt, pumunta naman siya ng lakeside at ginamit niya naman yung bote na gusto niya naman ilaslas sa kanyang wrist. Okay? And again, because everyone is aware of his condition, the friends, family members, see to it na alam kung saan siya palagi nagpupunta. So nababantayan naman siya. And we're happy na meron talagang mga friends and family surrounded him para masubaybayan siya, maalagaan siya, at hindi matuluyan yung kanyang suicidal attempts. So me here in Cebu, parang nagiging concerned din ako kasi nag-iisa lang siya na kapatid ko na lalaki. And of course, pag kapatid mo, dapat mahal na mahal mo talaga. And you give all the love and concern to your brother. So umuwi ako ng probinsya. And knowing na ano bang gagawin ko pag umuwi ako ng probinsya, wala naman akong kaalam-alam sa mga psychology, sa psychiatry, sa mga anything about how to help someone who is struggling with mental problem. So thankfully we have that LDS Gospel Library tools, and I took some readings in mental health and suicide, and I got some guidance on how I can help my brother. So I went to the province, to our hometown, and I tried to extend my help to my brother. And you know what, brothers and sisters? it was a waste of time for me because hindi ko talaga nakausap ng matino yung brother ko. And I was really, really careful on how I am going to extend my help to him. And all of the family members were very careful on how to help my brother. So I think I stayed there for about a week. Pauwi na ako, sabi ko, parang wasted naman yung pagpunta ko dito, gumastos ako ng pera. Nag-research ako kung ano yung mga dapat kong gagawin para matulungan siya. But you know what? Talagang ang nasunod ko lang, thankful ako dito sa mga natutunan ko sa mental health and suicide provided by the church. Because there are things that we can actively do as we care someone who is having mental health problem. So ito lang yung ginawa ko talaga, brothers and sisters, sa brother ko. Kasi hindi ko naman siya pwedeng pagsabihan. Actually, sa group chat namin, excluding him, he left the group sa FB group chat namin sa family. Siguro, in-advise din siya ng medical consultant na stay away from someone who would magkaroon ng trigger ba. So kami naman, nung he left the chat group, meron pa rin talaga kami yung mga pag-alinlangan na baka naman nag-iinorti lang, yung mga ganun. So we were inconsiderate. It was actually my wife who told me that, please be careful with your words. Kasi hindi nyo alam kung ano yung pinagdadaanan niya. So meron kayong mga sinasabi sa group chat na kung iisipin ko siya ngayon, it was really wrong. It was really wrong. So the first one that we can do is really to watch our words. Let's be careful. I think with this, number one way to help our family members or someone else who is having a mental health is to really be kind to others. Let's watch our words. Okay. So I will suggest that since we attended the mental health forum last February, I got this from the forum, that these are the worst things that you can say to someone who is depressed. Okay? Tingnan nyo na lang dito sa screen. You just need to give yourself a kick in the rear. No one ever said life was fair. Ito yung mga common pag hindi natin naiintindihan yung mga taong dumadaan sa depression Feeling kasi natin, ako nga nagagawa ko namang i-overcome yung mga struggles ko, pero kaya mo rin, parang bakit ikaw hindi mo kaya? Life is fair naman. There are a lot of people worse off than you. So minsan sinasabi natin na ikaw nga, ang dami-dami mong resources, ako nga, ang hirap-hirap ko, tapos ba't ka ganyan? So mali pala yung mga ganong expression to someone who is having that depression. And another one is, well, everyone gets depressed sometimes. Yung mga ganong simpatya lang, brothers and sisters. So worst thing that we can say, that words. Maybe you should take vitamins for your stress. You need a hobby. Madaling sabihin na ano lang yan, kailangan mo lang magkaroon ng hobby. You have no reason to feel this way. And you don't like this way, so change it. So marami pang iba. So we need to be very careful, brothers and sisters, to say things to anyone, to someone else, kahit hindi man natin alam na nag-struggle sila sa depression or any mental health problem. Kasi, di ba nga, mahirap pagka ganun, nakaka-apekto sa isipan ng ibang tao. And here are the best things that you can say to someone who is depressed. I love you. So, tayo mga Pilipino, hindi tayo masyadong ganito ka-expressive, pero let's try to be expressive saying I love you to our family members, to our friends, and to anybody that we care. And then I care. You're not alone in this. I'm not going to leave you. You don't, do you want a hug? Ito rin, no? Yung hug kasi, meron yung special na feeling na pwedeng mangyari sa isang tao na hinag mo because he feels the comfort. And then, I'm sorry you're in pain. You are important to me. Well, ito yung pinaka-importante. When I asked my brother later on, a few years after, what helped you to recover? Ang sabi niya sa amin, kasi na-feel ko sa inyo po yan, na-feel ko sa family natin na everyone is supporting me, everyone let me feel how important I am. So, yun talaga yung isa sa mga sinabi niya sa amin kung bakit naka-recover din siya. And then these words, I am here for you. So we should have to tell this to our family members. I am here for you. And how can I help? Let's offer help. Okay? And I will not give up on you. All right? So itong mga words na to, nakakatulong to sa kanila. And another way to take an active role in caring mental health is be a friend. So we have to be a friend to them. Okay? So alam naman natin, this is very literal. Let's just be a friend to them. Okay? And then lastly is please do not forget yourself. Practice self-care also. Mahirap din naman, baka ikaw one day magkaroon ka rin ng depression. So please practice self-care din para sa sarili mo at nang hindi rin ikaw maapektuhan. Alright? So, alright, wait lang po. Okay, so I would like to share with you this scripture verse in Mosiah 4:27, and see that all these things are done in wisdom and order, for it is not requisite that a man should run faster than he has strength. And again, it is expedient that he should be diligent, that thereby he might win the prize. Therefore, all things must be done in order. So, in having this kind of condition sa mental health talaga, hindi naman to kaagad-agad nawawala. It's just like the other kind of illnesses na minsan madali yung recovery sa sarili mo, minsan naman matagal yung recovery. But always remember this verse from the scripture that we should not run faster than our strength. So my brother went up to some medication, of course, clinical. And then he went his own way also, going back to YouTube channel, putting videos, doing what he likes to do. Mahilig kasi siya mag-workout. Hindi kagaya ko, kaya mataba ako eh. So, ito yung sa kanya, more on physical activity siya. So, naglilinis din siya ng bahay. Ito yung na-miss namin sa kanya kasi mahilig siya maglinis ng bahay. Pinaka-paborito niyang linisan yung CR talaga, kaya malinis palagi yung CR. So, nag-exercise siya, nagba-biking siya. So, yun. If you have someone na merong ganitong na-experience, brothers and sisters, then support them. Please support them in their recovery. If hindi nila kayang gawin yung mga gusto nilang ginagawa dati, support them on doing that again. At nang meron silang ibang mapaglibangan. So I got a message from one of the TED Talks that I watched. So it said there that if you are thinking of suicide today, keep thinking, all right? Just keep thinking and start talking about it. Okay, don't keep it. Okay, start talking about it with your close friends, with your family members who love you, and then start doing something about it. Because you know what, brothers and sisters, for those who might be contemplating suicide, I know there's hope inside you. Keep that hope alive. I know that we are faced with this pandemic and there's a lot of things coming in our mind. So let's really take care of our mind first, okay? As well as our body, our physical health. I would tell you to never be afraid to ask for help. Ako nga minsan pag meron akong mga kunting bad feelings, talagang sinasabi ko rin sa wife ko. And then kino-comfort niya ako, binibigyan niya ako ng mga message para mapakalma ako. And then seek the right people and let them help you. God often helps us through others. Okay? Always remember that. And you, brothers and sisters, be that instrument to other people to help others too. And always look for something to make you smile each day. Okay? And we have a lot of resources. I think this is in Luzon. You can take this hotline. You can talk to the professionals. Okay, and then in Visayas, you can also call this number para magkaroon ng consultation or anything that you want para ma-advise din. So that's for my experience. Lastly, I would like to say na itong mental health talaga, kailangan natin to pangangalagaan. Depression and other mental problems, kailangan din natin solusyonan kaagad para hindi magiging problemado yung other aspects ng buhay natin. And the best thing that we can do probably, as I was thinking before this event, is let us be kind. Let us be kind to everyone. So if we don't, if our words are not that kind to others, let's just be silent na lang, and let's try to help and be positive to them. All right. So I know these are really helpful tips. And if you are personally experiencing this, later on you can ask questions from our other speakers.
All right. Thank you so much, Lloyd. We are so thankful. This is the second time actually that we're going to do this. We did this first in our state, and Sir James thought that it might be helpful for our alumni to hear this presentation as well. And we are thankful to Lloyd because he was very open in sharing a very personal family experience related to this. And we asked him to do this because we would like to demonstrate to everyone that when it comes to mental health or mental illnesses or mental struggles, it's closer to the home than we could ever imagine. So we hope that it doesn't really knock on our home, but when it does, the purpose of this webinar is to help every one of us cope with it and manage it and remain mentally stable. Now, when it comes to this pandemic, ang description nga ho dito is unprecedented. No, pag sinabing unprecedented, wala pa ho siguro sa atin na naka-experience nito unless we are 100 years old and above. And for all of us entrepreneurs, tayong mga negosyante, first time din ho natin ma-experience na ng gantong klaseng pandemya na hindi tinamaan lang ang health natin, tinamaan din ang ating negosyo, ang ating pangkabuhayan. So samot-sari na ho ng mga experiences ang dulot nitong pandemyang ito. Nevertheless, we hope that we would be able to shed a little bit of a light and a little bit of help para tayong mga maliliit na negosyante ay magkaroon ng skills and tools to overcome whatever it is that we are mentally and emotionally struggling to cope with during this time. So let me just share my screen. No? When it comes to mental health, marami na hong description ang lumabas. No? But this is the description that I would like to share with you because it's so easy to relate to this definition that the WHO has given when it comes to mental health. So according to what I'm seeing, Lloyd, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
Yes.
Right, okay. So according to sa WHO, malalaman daw natin na tayo are mentally healthy or at least mentally stable when we have these things on my screen. Okay? On the right side, I just retranslated it in my own words. So pag alam mo yung self-worth mo, you can solve your own problems, you can produce positive results, and you can contribute productively to others, then you, on your own parameters, you can say to yourself, okay pa ako. I'm still mentally healthy and still mentally stable. All right? Now, pag sinabi nating mentally healthy ang isang tao, these are supposed to be, the one that you see on the screen, are supposed to be the results or behaviors or thoughts that come to our mind or that we experience. So nandiyan na yan. And I just would like to mention yung isa dyan, wealth management. No? So sa mga negosyante, So we would know that we are mentally healthy when we are able to manage our businesses. We are able to solve the problems of our businesses. And of course, it goes without saying that we're able to manage ourselves and our family. Okay. Now, there is challenge mentally or emotionally when we experience the one on the right side. Okay. When we experience sadness, anxiety, grief. Okay. There's also failure in work and school. So magandang tanong sa atin yan, tayo ba ay hindi nakaka-experience ng success because there is something that's bothering us mentally or emotionally. Now, ang tanong po dyan is kapag ba nalungkot ka or nagkaroon ka ng anxiety, mentally unhealthy ka na. So I would like you to focus on the word constant. Right? So you would be able to gauge if you are mentally unhealthy, if you are constantly experiencing the feelings and the behavior on the right side. Now, what is constant? Depende ho yan, no? Pero marami sa mga doktor na in-interview namin or that we have come in contact with when we are training for the family services of the church, because we are also missionaries for that department. Ang definition ng mga doktor is between 10 to 15 days or 2 to 3 weeks. When you are constantly sad, when you are constantly anxious, when you have grief, when you feel grief and fear for more than 2 to 3 weeks, then it's time to consult professional help. All right? Now, anxiety and fear and sadness in itself is not bad. Actually, pag tayo nakakaramdam ng konting anxiety, it's good because it puts us on our toes. Anxiety is actually our natural defense for survival. The only time that it becomes unhealthy is when we could not function normally anymore and there's constant sadness, anxiety, and fear enveloping us. All right? So there are many factors that affect our mental health. So for today, I'll only discuss numbers 1 and 2, and I'll let Sir James take care of numbers 3 and 4. Now, the information that we have gathered here is a result of our research and a result of conventions and symposium that we have attended in the past, and also from information that we have gathered from professionals. But we ourselves are not professionals, okay? So we just like to share this information to you, and we hope that they might help, all right? Yung number 1 is yung tinatawag nating physical or biological. There are many studies now that links our physical welfare with the way our brain or our mind works, okay? So number 1 sa physical, I just would like to mention genetics, okay? Lahat po tayo is a product of genes. Actually, hindi lang ho natin yan minana sa parents natin. Minana pa ho natin yan with our ancestors sa pinakaninunuan natin yan. All right? And when it comes to mental health, all right, many studies show that this, at least the 5 below, are the ones that are genetically passed from our ancestors to us, and then from us to our children. Now, why is it important for us to know what genes we are born with or what genes we have received from our ancestors? Kasi nga ho, even if we cannot stop these genes from being a big part of our lives, we can do something to either delay or even probably stop the onset of all these mental illnesses. And that's why it's very important that when we do our research, lalo na ho sa family research natin, we just don't ask about the complete names and when they died or where they were born. We also ask what kinds of illnesses did they experience when they were still alive. And somehow those information would give us a lot of leverage and a lot of help in being able to identify which we would have a genetic disposition to inherit from our parents or from our ancestors. Okay, the key is, ang maganda ho rito, sabi ho sa study, even if we have some genetic factors that we have inherited from our ancestors, 95% of the power to overcome all of these illnesses is in our hand. Ibig sabihin, hindi ho death sentence kung merong depression and anxiety disorder sa pamilya. It's not a death sentence. But we would be able to help ourselves and maybe improve that genetic key so that we do not pass it to our children anymore by becoming aware. Okay? Awareness is the key. All right? Now, so that's the genetics portion. Now, marami ring hong relationship ang mental illness with our physical diseases. Alright? Pag sinabi ho natin physical diseases, ito yung mga nararamdaman na natin ngayon. And many of those probably we have also inherited from our ancestors. Chronic illnesses, pag sinabing chronic illnesses, ito ho yung pangmatagalan. Yung panghabang buhay nyo na ho mai-experience, like yung diabetes, hypertension, inflammation. Now, bakit ho importante na alam natin yung mga yan? Because the earlier we seek professional help to address these chronic illnesses, the better. Kasi ito hong mga chronic illnesses na to, it contributes to the lack of blood flow in our brain. Pag may decrease ho ng blood flow to our brain, we experience a lot of these mental illnesses. Kung mapapansin ho nyo, kung meron ho kayong kamag-anak or kaibigan or a loved one who has diabetes, pansinin niyo ho, pag towards mealtime at hindi pa ho kumakain yan, mainit ho ang ulo niyan. Now, why do I know this? Kasi diabetic ako. And my husband knows that when it's time to eat and I haven't eaten, mataas ho ang irritability ng mga may diabetes. Because why? It affects their physical capacity to function. It affects the blood flow in their brain. Ngayong mga inflammation ho yan, kasama ho dyan yung mga nagdudugo yung mga gums, yung mga merong tooth decay. So we have to really address those things. Hindi ho natin pwedeng sabihin na, ano lang yan, sirang ngipin lang yan. Because the closer to the brain, the more potent, okay, the contribution to the decrease of blood flow it is. All right? So, kailangan babantayan din ho natin yung mga katawan natin pagdating sa ganitong bagay. Tayo mga Pilipino, meron tayong kinagawian na tayo ay magpapatingin lamang kapag tayo ay nakakaramdam na ng sintomas. But we have to start changing our mindset. We have to do an annual checkup, an annual visit to the doctor so that we don't go into these chronic illnesses anymore and we can prevent this and we can save our mental stability as well. All right? So the last one that I would like to discuss about physical or biological factors is the diet and lifestyle. Ito madalas na ho talaga itong dinidiscuss. Okay? Pero sa mga research ngayon, they are now highlighting and emphasizing the relationship of the gut o yung tiyan natin. The relationship of the gut with our brain. All right? And anything that we put into our mouth and anything that our body process affects also our mental stability, our mental health. So pagdating ho sa food, of course, you already know the basic, what you need to eat and what you don't need to eat. Things or food that are rich in sugar and salt are really bad for your health. And the ones that I've listed here on the screen are the ones that you need to eat regularly at least. Okay? Maganda ho yung reminder sa atin sa word of wisdom, di ba? That when it comes to the things that are not good for our health, we eat sparingly or we don't eat at all. One of the doctors that I'm following on the internet, si Dr. Daniel Amen, he has a mantra when it comes to food. Sabi niya, you have to love the food that loves you back. Okay, mahalin daw natin yung mga pagkain na mamahalin din tayo pagkatapos natin silang kainin. Alright? So love the food that loves you back. Okay, next, sleep. Okay, mahaba na ho ang discussion dyan. When it comes to sleep, let's just put it this way. It's very important that you get enough sleep. Because if you don't, you will be irritable. Marami na hong mga, those who are working on the night shift, na nagmamanifest ng high irritability and anxiety because they lack sleep. All right, when it comes to the hours, it depends on your body. Meron hong iba can thrive with 5 to 6 hours. There are those who thrive with 7 to 9 hours. It's all up to you. Now, Sir James will discuss later on what are some of the things that disrupts our sleep, and that will be his discussion later on. Okay, now this is the one that I would like to give emphasis on. Okay, in our lifestyle, we have to incorporate the importance of proper breathing. Tamang paghinga. And I remember President Nelson discussing this. Breathing is a very important part, should be a very important part of our lifestyle. Now, ang ating hong paghinga, we call it chest or shallow breathing. Ito ho yung kinagawian natin. Yung hininga ho natin galing lang ho sa dibdib natin. Then that's not the right way to breathe. The right way to breathe is what we call diaphragmatic breathing. Now, let's try it. No? Ang diaphragmatic breathing ho, pagka ikaw ay humigop ng air, dapat ho yung tiyan nyo lumalaki. It bloats. And then you hold your breath for 5 counts. You inhale 5 counts and then you hold it for 2 counts. And then you exhale slowly for 5 counts. So it's between 11 to 12 seconds. So ganun ho ang tamang breathing or what we call diaphragmatic breathing. Now, why is this important? Because when we feel anxious and when we feel fearful or we feel depressed or we have a little bit of sadness in our system, diaphragmatic breathing will help you get right back to the proper system of your body. Okay, let's try it. So we will do diaphragmatic breathing. So if you want to stand up or you just want to sit down, it doesn't matter, okay? For as long as you inhale, you make your stomach big. Lalaki ho dapat kasi pumapasok yung inyong hinihinga, yung oxygen. So breathe in 5 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now hold your breath. 2 counts. 1, 2, and then exhale slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's diaphragmatic breathing. Let's do it again. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold your breath. 1, 2, and exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, when you do this for the first time, you might feel a little bit dizzy. So it takes practice to be able to do this. But this is one of your best defense, okay? Pag medyo yung sales nyo sa negosyo ngayong araw na to ay hindi yung gusto nyong quota at kayo ay naging anxious, diaphragmatic breathing. Always put that in your mind. All right? So siguro ilagay lang natin sa chat. If you were able to do it, just type yes. I was able to do diaphragmatic breathing. And then you just continue to do this later on. Okay? Type yes. Mine lang tayo. No joke. All right. Sabi ni President Holland, and this is a very wonderful reminder for all of us na mga negosyante who are going through and battling a lot of challenges right now. Fatigue is a common enemy of us all. And for us to be able to overcome fatigue, we have to eat the right food, we have to sleep well, and we have to do the proper breathing. All right? Last in my discussion, ito na yung sa psychological. Psychological is the way we think, which is brought by a combination of our experiences and the thoughts that run in our mind. Now, pagdating ho sa psychological factor, just remember this word, ants. Okay? What does ants mean? Ang ants ang tinatawag nating automatic negative thoughts. For some reason, maybe it's really biological, our brains are wired to think negative thoughts. Yan ho ang automatic na response ng ating brain, to think negative thoughts. And I think it's because there's a need for us to survive. O meron bang threat or danger in our environment. And that's why the brain automatically produces negative thoughts. Now, it becomes detrimental to our health, mentally and emotionally, when it keeps on recurring and you don't know how to handle ants. All right? Now, how do you kill ants or how do you manage ants? You must have an internal anteater in your brain or an internal anteater in your system. And one of those things that really work is to question or challenge your negative thought. Okay? May pumasok na thought sa'yo. Nako, pag sinimulan ko itong negosyo to, malulugi ako. Now, ask yourself the question, malulugi ka nga ba talaga? Hindi mo ba talaga kayang gawin ito? Hindi mo ba kayang aralin ito? Wala bang tools na pwede kang makita para mapalago mo tong negosyo sisimulan mo? Alright? You can also say, oh, my spouse or my husband is, he doesn't love me anymore. That's a negative thought that popped out in your brain. Now, challenge it. Question that. Hindi ka na ba talaga niya mahal? Wala na ba siyang pinapakita kahit katiting na actions or anything that says otherwise? All right? Now, when you do this, your brain gets rewired and it goes back to its ideal setup, which is to produce positive thoughts for yourself. All right? So those are the things that you can ask. Is it really real? Can it really happen? What can I do to stop it from happening? And how can I manage it when it happens? Dun sa first slide ko po, binanggit ko, one of the things that tell us or to gauge ourselves if we are mentally capable is when we are able to solve our own problems. And when it happens and we can question our thoughts when negative thoughts come in, those are the questions that you can ask yourselves. All right? So sabi nga po ni President Uchtdorf, doubt your doubts first before you doubt your faith. Naniniwala ako na as alumni of the Academy, because of the training that you have had and the many other lessons or trainings that you have gone through, na meron ho kayong kakayahan to manage your business, to manage yourself, and to manage your family. And if there are things, sabi nga ho ni Ryan Westwood this morning, there are things that you would experience and that you cannot really solve, that's a fact. That's not a problem anymore. And you just have to embrace it. Failure is one of the best teachers that we can rely on because it gives us wonderful feedback on how we can improve ourselves. So thank you so much. I'd like to turn the time now to Sir James.
Thank you so much. Brothers and sisters, thank you for joining us in this special webinar. Some of you were with us this morning and you're here with us this afternoon. Thank you so much for taking the time. Let me just share with you, to begin with, a story that I think would help, for me, at least for me, illustrate what it means to be mentally fit or mentally strong, and what it means to be mentally unfit. And in some of our start now, I've been sharing some of my favorite Zen parables. I only have very few, and this is one of those few Zen parables that I love, and I'm going to share one right now. And hopefully you can capture the essence of the Zen parable in the context of mental health. It's a story about two monks and a lady. One day, there were two monks who were journeying on their way back to their convent. Habang naglalakad doon sila, finally they reached the river. And they were about to cross the river. And they noticed actually that the river was quite a bit wild this afternoon. Medyo maalon, medyo merong current yung river na to. No? And when they were ready to cross and step into the waters of the river, suddenly a lady appeared from the side. In fact, this lady was actually there. And she was afraid to cross the river alone. And so she was waiting for somebody to help her out. And so when she saw these two monks ready to cross the river, sabi niya, will you please help me? I'm scared. I'm afraid to cross the river all by myself. And I hope that you can help me. Now, I have to pause for a while, brothers and sisters, for you to appreciate the story even more. I have to remind you that monks actually made a very strict vow, a vow of celibacy. In fact, they made a vow not to look at a woman, let alone touch a woman. And so please keep that in mind as I continue with the story. And so upon hearing this request from the lady, the more senior monk, the older and more senior monk, without saying a word, without hesitation, approached the woman, the lady, placed her gently on his back, and started to cross the river. Pagdating nila sa kabila, she gently placed her down and continued with his journey. Oh my goodness, the junior monk was just stunned. She was surprised. She couldn't believe his eyes. He couldn't believe what the senior monk just did. And to make things worse, the senior monk wasn't saying anything, not a word. After doing this, 1 hour passed, no word from the senior monk. 2 hours passed, still no word. 3 hours, still no word from the senior monk. On the 4th hour, hindi na humakayanan ng junior monk. Finally, hinarap niya ngayon yung kanyang senior monk. Sabi niya, I couldn't believe what you just did. Have you forgotten our vow? Why did you do what you did? The senior monk smiled at him and said, you know what? I already placed her down on the other side of the river hours ago. The problem is, you still hold him in your head up until now. That's the problem. Dala-dala mo pa rin sa utak mo. You see, brothers and sisters, for me, the senior monk illustrates the power of mental health. The ability to carry problems, the ability to carry issues in our brains, in our head, and the ability to bring them down. Did you get that? Unfortunately, the junior monk, for me, illustrates mental unfitness. No? Ito yung mga tao na magdadala ng problema, and then the problem stays there for hours and hours. And then it turns into days. And then it turns into weeks. Can you imagine that, brothers and sisters? Nandun lang, no? Jogging lang yung issue sa utak niya. And then what's worse is, another issue will come. And then dalawa na yung nagtatravel sa utak niya, no? Paikot-ikot ganon. And then another issue. Ika nga ng mga millennials natin ngayon, hindi maka-move on. Hindi niya maibaba. Hindi niya mababa, hindi niya matanggal sa utak niya. Hindi niya rin naman niya sinosolve, no? Not necessarily solving it, but nandun lang. Stays there. Stays there. Okay? And so the senior monk said a very, very wise statement. Well, I already placed her down on the other side of the river hours ago. But you are still holding her in your head. Andun pa rin. Dala-dala mo pa rin. So, brothers and sisters, what I would like to share with you, the practical things that I would like to share with you are actually more of prevention rather than cure. And when it comes to cure, probably Cindy can talk more about that in a while. But we know, brothers and sisters, that some people really need professional help. But what I'm going to share with you are practical ways that we can stay mentally healthy and mentally fit. And the formula that I follow is a very simple formula, and I call it the WEST formula. W-E-S-T, West. Not North, not South, not East, but West. So please keep that in mind. Madaling tandaan. West. Okay? Actually, you know, brothers and sisters, I did my own digging. The Chinese Buddhist brothers and sisters of ours actually consider West as the direction towards enlightenment. Wow. In Judaism, West is the direction towards the presence of the Lord. In fact, of course, they respect very well the story of the Israelites crossing the Jordan River. And they were, after crossing Jordan River, they're headed westward towards the Promised Land. So for the Jews, our brothers and sisters, they actually consider West as the direction towards the presence of God. So consider West and W-E-S-T as my simple formula for staying mentally fit. All right, here we go. Letter W, write. Okay, sulat, writing things down. Brothers and sisters, there's really power, and I think Cindy can discuss this more. She has more studies on this one, but you know, experts agree that there is some sort of power when we write things down. You know, I'm reminded of a great statement by Stephen R. Covey, who said, sometimes the problem is we're too close to the tree and we cannot appreciate the whole forest anymore. Did you get that? Ang lapit mo sa puno, hindi mo na makita yung buong forest, ano? And that's exactly what happens when the problems are all right here. The problems are too close. We cannot see anymore a better view. And so when we write things down, it's in a way literally allowing us to distance ourselves from the issues. And that's the reason why writing is a very powerful therapy. Okay, pag sinusulat ho natin. That's the reason why I believe our leaders are encouraging us or counseling us to write our journals, no? Because there's a very powerful effect when we write things down. Let me just conclude this issue of writing with a story that I love to share in the context of time management and productivity, but I believe in the context of mental health, this story will really come in handy as well. And it's a story about Albert Einstein. And one day, according to the story, Professor Einstein was on his way out of the classroom after giving a lecture, and he was carrying his favorite briefcase. You can imagine Albert Einstein with his favorite old leather briefcase. Suddenly, one of his students approached him and said, Professor Einstein, may I ask for your phone number? Humingi ng telephone number ni Einstein. And according to the story, upon hearing that request, Professor Einstein went back to his table, gently placed down his briefcase, opened it, and took out his address book. Okay, you can probably picture this out in your mind. Kinuha niya ang kanyang address book and opened his address book to letter ABC until he reached E. Einstein, Albert. And then when he got to his name, he read the number below his number, which was actually his phone number. The student who was watching and witnessing this was stunned, surprised. Sabi niya, hindi niya napigilan ang sarili niya. Sabi niya, Professor Einstein, the brightest mind in the planet today, you haven't even memorized your phone number? Professor Einstein replied back. He said, my young friend, let me tell you something. When I write things down, I free my mind. What a great wisdom from a wonderful, wonderful person. When we write things down, we get to free our minds. I think there is truly great magic when we write things down. So, one of the things that we can do for mental fitness is writing things down. Number 2, letter E, exercise. Ayan na po. And I think we know this. This is elementary and we know this. Actually, yung letter E ko, dalawa yan. Exercise and eat the right food. Pero hindi ko na di-discuss yung eating the right food. Diniscuss na ni Cynthia kanina. But I think that, again, this is very basic. This is more prevention rather than cure. Letter E, exercise. And we know, brothers and sisters, when we engage in exercise, our bodies, our brain actually produce happy hormones and we become happier and healthier. You see, exercise, brothers and sisters, is not just for physical fitness, it's for mental fitness. And many of you already know, I have shared this many times in some of our other workshops. My favorite exercise is walking. And I'm so happy every time I would read an expert say or hear an expert say that walking is the best exercise, because I am part of that club, the walking club. Now, I want you to write this down. I want you to write this down. This is my very simple statement, one of my mottos and one of my mottos in life. Walking is my meditation in motion. Please write that down. That's my personal twist to that. Walking is my meditation in motion. A very good friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, actually one of the executives of M. Louvillier, whom I know is one person I know with the toughest mental health. For her version of this is gardening is my meditation in motion. Ayun ang kanya. Gardening is her meditation in motion. So you have to come up with your own meditation in motion, brothers and sisters. For me, that's walking. And some of you have already heard, and I share this a lot. Actually, dalawang beses po ako nagwa-walking. Okay, yung first walking ko po, my first 30 minutes of walking is with my wife. And so my first 30 minutes is both physical and relational. Yun na rin kasi ang date namin. And then tapos na siya mag-walking, I will continue for the next 30 minutes. So nakakaisang oras ako minsan. And the second 30 minutes is for my physical and mental. And for some strange reasons, and I know that you know what I'm talking about, walking in many ways clears my mind. And so once again, walking is my meditation in motion. Okay, letter S in my West formula. So letter W is write, writing things down. Letter E is exercise. Samahan mo na ng eating the right food. And then letter S, okay, tinanggit din ito ni Cynthia kanina. Sleep. Yon. Sleep. Sleep, brothers and sisters. Remember this. Our body and our brain are repairing while we are sleeping. Keep that in mind. Our bodies and our brains are repairing when we are sleeping. Well, I don't need a lot of studies on this one to convince you of the power of sleeping. Let me just quote DNC 88. 88 verse 1 to 4. The Lord said, retire to thy bed early, arise early, that your bodies and your mind may be invigorated. Brothers and sisters, the Lord already said it. Sleeping is not just for physical fitness, it's for mental fitness. All right? Now, the problem with sleeping, brothers and sisters, straight talk, the problem with sleeping is the screen. Yan. One more episode. One more episode. Puro one more episode. Social media becomes a problem. When I was younger, one of my favorite statements is from President Hinckley. President Hinckley said, turn the TV off and read a good book. Today I say, turn the screen off and go to sleep. Turn the screen off and go to sleep. Now, brothers and sisters, we are encouraged by the government to do social distancing. Can I add to that? Please add to social distancing some social media distancing. When it's time to sleep, sleep. Okay? Don't let FB steal your sanity. Okay? Matulog po tayo. Kailangan po natin yan. And lastly, WAST. The last is talk. Talk. Okay? Talking to someone is very healthy for mental fitness. Well, brothers and sisters, at this point, I would like to share with you very quickly. Again, matatawa ko yung ating mga alumni nito. Here we go again. The etymology of things. Brothers and sisters, as you know, I love to study words, and I love to research on the root words of certain words. And the etymology of emotion is quite interesting. Emotion. Okay? Yung mga emotional po dyan, para sa inyo po ito. Okay. Emotion. The word emotion comes from the Latin word move. M-O-T. Kasi po, pag nakakita ko kayo ng salitang emotion, meron pong M-O-T sa gitna yan. E-M-O-T-I-O-N. Emotion. When you see the word M-O-T, try to notice locomotive, motion, promotion, demotion. All these words that has M-O-T connotes movement. E, kasi merong E yung emotion sa harap. E in Latin means out. So brothers and sisters, if you put them together, emotion means to move out. Are you getting that? Emotion means to move out. So what's the wisdom of this, brothers and sisters? The wisdom to me is clear. Our emotions are not meant to be bottled up. Our emotions are meant to be expressed. Now, having said that, hindi naman ibig sabihin nun, pag in-express mo yung emotion mo, kailangan magwala ka. O kailangan galit. Hindi yun ang ibig sabihin nun. But we need to express our emotions properly because it's healthy. You remember Alma, when he was rejected in the Monaiha? Brothers and sisters, bago ho siya pinabalik ng angel. Tandaan niyo po ito, I think it's in Alma 8. Brothers and sisters, nag-emote muna si Alma. Alma 8:14, basahin niyo po yan. Nag-emote po dun si Alma. Kung meron po tayong pelikula, nag-emote po dun si Alma. Nilalabas niya yung kanyang emotion. Lungkot na lungkot siya. Lungkot na lungkot siya. And so, that is how it should be. Pag malungkot ka, dapat malungkot ka. Hindi mo kailangan i-deny. Hindi mo kailangan itago. Okay? And that's one of the things that I really appreciate from my wife. Minsan lalapit sa akin, sabihin sa akin, Daddy, malungkot ako ngayon. O, di ba? Malungkot siya, di ba? Kailangan niya sabihin yun. Hindi niya pwedeng itago yun. Emotions are meant to be expressed. And talking to our loved ones really help a lot. But let me close this, brothers and sisters. And of course, I know that you already know the best person to talk to is God. Of course. Our Heavenly Father is the best person to ever talk to with our problems. Of course, our family are there to help us, and so we need to talk to them as well. But our Heavenly Father is truly there to help us. I was reminded um, of, uh, of a story about President Kimball. One time, President Kimball, as you know, President Kimball went through a lot of problems. Nagkaroon siya ng throat cancer, so many problems, so many problems. So one time, somebody asked President Kimball, sabi sa kanya, President Kimball, how do you sleep at night with so many problems in your head? How do you get to sleep at night? Sabi nga nagtatanong, do you count sheep? Sabi nga sa kanya. Is that your strategy to sleep at night? Do you count sheep? President Kimball said, no, I don't count sheep. I talk to the shepherd. Wow, what a wonderful wisdom. I don't necessarily count sheep, but I do talk to the shepherd. Brothers and sisters, West formula. Okay? W is right. E is exercise and eat the right food. S is sleep. And T is talk. So yan lang po ang aking gustong i-share sa inyo. Some practical ways and tips on how we can keep our mind healthy and strong. Before we go to question and answer, we will now turn the time to Cindy, who will wrap these things up. I'm excited to listen to her. And of course, she'll be very busy in a while answering questions from you. Cindy, take it away.
Wow, I really had a soft heart when Sir James extended this invitation to me. I am a pro mental health advocate, and my heart is really full from listening to all of our speakers this afternoon. I salute ACE Philippines for being such a whole bunch, because they're like a complete package of all its programs. I really see and I really appreciate their dynamism in providing all these practical business tips for the Filipino entrepreneurs, their standout leadership and establishing personality development, to all their chapter officers are all exquisite and support. So superb. So congrats sa team, Sir James Fantone and Ma'am Cynthia. Okay, listening to Lloyd, when a leader or a family member knows how to respond, they become significant assets to the overall health system of their family member who is currently experiencing emotional difficulty. So we all can learn from the actual and personal experience shared by Lloyd. And thank you to that, kapatid. And the technicality surrounding mental health issues handled by Ma'am Cynthia is our first step. Actually, that is our first step in educating ourselves about mental health in general, because it's important to get to know these facts and attaching ourselves to all these psychological terminologies so that we can apply it in our lives and we can better prepare ahead and help the persons or the people surrounding us. So, ang galing ng mga very helpful for us to study all this and be familiar with all these psychological terms. Now, going to Sir James, he has provided us a simplified and practical tips which are all beneficial for all of us to protect ourselves. Diba? They are very, very simple. West formula, sabi niya. These are healthy mental habits which are the key to achieve a mentally healthy well-being. And we need a good form and acceptable mental health habits for ourselves and for our families as well, because in the end, we have heard the popular saying that goes, you can't take care. If you can't take care of yourself, then you definitely can't take care of anyone else. And it is likely that you can't absolutely take care of your business as well. So we all need to take care of ourselves, because if we don't, then it will affect all areas in our lives. If we don't take care of ourselves, then we can't take care of anyone else. We can't do good also in taking care of our businesses. Now, speaking in a clinical perspective, I want to say this, that let us all be inclusive. You know, mental health affects us all in all areas in all areas and in all parts of our life. It is important that we know how to take care of our own selves so that we can take great care of our own family and our household. Because in reality, we don't defeat depression. We don't defeat anxiety. We don't even power off our way not to deal with all of this, or we will not deal with it anymore. Okay, before we do anything else, we need to accept that we all have it. Some part of our life, we may experience depression and anxiety, and we can't get away from it. In one way or another, we can become vulnerable to it. It just depends on the triggering factors that we will experience as we go on with our life. So, hindi natin siya maiiwasan. We are all part of it, and let us all be inclusive to this topic. So, wala namang exempted sa pagkaka-experience ng mental health difficulty. We all do undergo all these processes. So, normal malungkot, normal umiyak, normal magalit, but we have to make sure that in expressing all of these emotions, we express this in an acceptable manner na pwede sa community. Hindi tayo pwedeng makapanakit, or we can physically damage the property of others, because we will answer it again sa law, sa batas natin dito sa Pilipinas. Okay? We have to come to a place of acceptance to find out what we are dealing with. We can't accept any treatment if we can't accept that we actually have a problem. So it's like going to a dentist. Pupunta ka ba sa dentist kung wala ka namang toothache? Siyempre hindi. Okay? You will go to the dentist because you acknowledge to yourself that, oh, I have a bad toothache, ang sakit ng ngipin ko. So you will go to the dentist because you acknowledge to yourself that you have a toothache. Meron kang tooth problem. So ganun din tayo sa mental health. How can you seek for help? You cannot achieve, or you cannot accept treatment if you yourself do not acknowledge to yourself that you need it and that you are having a mental health difficulty. That's why acceptance is 50% of the cure. We need to acknowledge it. Sabi nga kanina, na-discuss nila ng mga magagaling nating speakers kanina, that emotions are meant to be expressed out. So, i-express natin, but in an acceptable manner, okay, ng ating society. Praying about mental illness does not solve that problem. So imagine that you have a broken arm, okay, and your broken arm is really bad. And I'm sure you will not go to a prayer meeting to fix it, right? So if you have a broken arm and it's very painful and it's severe, what are you going to do? You cannot pray it away. What will you do is you're going to seek outside help. You're going to seek for a bone doctor or expert to that problem. So it's the same with our mental health issues. Pero ang nangyayari sa ating mga Pilipino, hindi tayo nagsiseek out, okay, ng problems natin, ng mga ailments natin, not until kung wasak na wasak ka na, o di ba? So ganun yung nangyayari sa atin. So any ailments that we have, any difficulty, it was explained a while ago that if you are experiencing sadness, anxiety, or depression for about 2 weeks or beyond, 2 weeks or more than a month, then it's the right time that you need to seek for psychotherapy, psychiatry, or a mental health support, because experiencing a steady of emotions for 2 weeks and beyond, or 1 month, is already not normal. Kailangan na i-express out natin yung feelings natin, kailangan nakakapag-move on tayo. So kung 2 weeks ka nang umiiyak because you lost your job, okay, so you have to check yourself. Am I still okay? Do I need support from a family member? You have to talk it out. So the West formula could be very useful for that person experiencing a difficulty. Again, I would like to repeat that we don't overcome depression and we don't prevail over anxiety. Instead, we do accept that we have them in our system and that these anxieties and depression are manageable and treatable only if we accept them and find solution for its effective management. Depression and anxiety are not reflections of one's weakness. So hindi ibig sabihin na pag na-depress ka or you have an anxiety, you're a weak person. No, we cannot judge that person kasi it's normal eh. Lahat tayo ay vulnerable at some point depending on our tolerance, depending on our triggering factor. So, ayun, iba-iba tayo ng resilience. So, hindi natin pwedeng sabihin at one point, pag nakaranas ka ng emotional difficulty, you are a weak person. No, we cannot judge that person. But the good news is there are a lot of trained people and to help and assist you if ever you will experience this scary and dark path of your life. So, huwag kayong mag-alala. There will be a lot of people who will love you. There's a village of support that you can go to if ever you will experience this. So, mental health issue is a real issue. And I'd like to end this one by saying that you are not alone. And this time I want to give the time to our facilitator and moderator for any questions that we may have.
Okay, thank you so much to our mentors for sharing with us your healthy mental habits. So with that, we will go ahead and take some time for questions. Meron na po tayo mga questions dito. Pwede niyo pong isulat again sa atin. Kindly type your questions at the Q&A box para doon po natin i-address lahat po ng mga tanong po ninyo. Okay, para ito sa mga ating mga mentors. Number 1 question. How to build confidence? Sino pong gusto mag-isagot dyan?
Siguro pag how to build confidence, napakagaling magturo niyan si Sir James.
Okay.
Sabi ko na nga ba. Okay. That's an excellent question, brothers and sisters. How does one build confidence? To begin with, confidence is like a muscle. It has to be developed. Some people are naturally confident. Meron talaga mga tao na for some strange reasons, they are gifted with the ability to have that high level of confidence in themselves and their abilities. Unfortunately, there are also other people who lack confidence. Okay, and so I would say since it can be developed like a muscle, then we have to constantly do our part. No? For me, there are no shortcuts to having confidence. Meron kasi mga tao na alam mo yung it's an empty kind of confidence ba. Alam mo yung tiwala sila pero shallow ba. Wala naman talaga, nothing really to back them up. And so I think it's a combination of many things. One, we need to have mental power. Hindi ka rin naman pwede maging confident na hindi mo naman alam ang ginagawa mo, di ba? Meron namang ibang mga tao, baliktad. Marami silang alam, pero wala naman silang tiwala sa sarili nila. And so I think you and I need to come up with that great combination. Some people have a lot of great mental ability, but they lack confidence. Some people naman, full of confidence, napaka-tiwala nila sa sarili na, pero wala naman at the end of the day, they cannot back it up with proper knowledge and all. So I think we have to develop both. We have to develop the mental ability, the knowledge and the skills, and then have trust in ourselves with our abilities. Now, one more thing, and I know that our mentors are also thinking of great things to share on this one. And we share this a lot, Jake and Lloyd, in our Start Now training. The issue of overcoming fear. I think at the end of the day, lack of confidence is so much fear. Di ba natatakot tayong mag-fail, natatakot tayo na magkamali. And so I love sharing my experience with Michael Gerber, and I would just like to just shortcut this and not give the full story. But Michael Gerber gave this wonderful wisdom. Sabi niya, never be afraid to look like a fool. And I think all of us would fail every now and then. So what? So what? Right? I mean, that's all part of growth. That's all part of life. And Ryan Westwood gave a wonderful insight this morning during our webinar. If we fail, that's part of our growth. Then we have just to move forward. And so I think if we can get that mental strength that we will not be afraid to fail, then I think we can really overcome many of these things and have that proper confidence in ourselves. And even though we fail, we can always try again. Go ahead, my friends.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Sir James. Another questions here. How can we best motivate our children to limit their time in social media and focus on more productive endeavors? Yeah.
Ay, mga mothers.
Mother yan, Ma'am Cynthia.
Siguro. Ano rito? Tapos yung huling tanong, Lloyd Mama.
I think all parents right now are experiencing this kind of a dilemma with their children. Dahil they are cooped up in their homes, they have nothing to do but be in their social media account. But I always imagine what was life like before social media came into the picture. And the reason why I want to think that way is because I would like to believe that all of our children have some kind of an interest. Some of them probably we know about, some of them we don't. So I think the answer to that question is go back to the basic and find out what they are interested in. I believe there's more interest in their body other than social media. So and how do you find out what they're interested with? Talk to them, observe them. And when you find out what they are interested with, try to engage them with it. So my kids, one is into dancing, one is into writing, the other is into creating films. So we try to ride on to that. That becomes our clue. That becomes our signal. And so we give them engagement related to their interests. And that's how we manage them. And then manage them with their social media. We also tell them that social media is not bad. Okay, I think you have to find a common ground with your kids that is not an enemy. Okay, the enemy is not being able to manage their time with that. So talk to them, find out what they're interested in, and engage them related to those interests.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Cynthia. Okay, ito naman para kay Miss Cindy. Okay, tanong dito, meron bang...
Miss daw, parang dalaga pa tayo
Tanong dito, meron bang pwedeng tignan sa tao na maaring sign ng depression? Kasi like sa share ni Brother Lloyd, masaya naman daw yung kapatid niya pero may depression na pala.
Yes. So, totoo yun. Sabi nila, ang ganda ng question ni Brother Ferdinand Obias. So, very helpful yung ganong tanong. It's true, they say that depression has no face. So, meron tayong mga tinatawag na smiling depression, meron tayong tinatawag na high functional depression, and meron din tayong situational depression. Smiling depression is that kahit kausap mo siya ngayon, face to face, ang saya nyo, kumain kayo sa Jollibee, sa McDonald's, or kung saan man dyan, hindi mo alam, meron na pala siyang dinadalang bigat sa sarili niya. So, smiling depression kasi nga, ang saya niyang kausap, kasama, nag-swimming pa kayo, may mga activities kayo, yung pala, deep inside is depression. That's why, importante na ngayong napag-aaralan natin about mental health, we give extra care or pangungumusta sa ating mga kaibigan. Kumusta ka na? Kasi ang sarap ng pakiramdam ng isang tao na kinakamusta because they feel that you care for them, na masarap yung ikaw kung halimbawang may isang kaibigan ka na biglang nag-message sa'yo, di ba parang you feel loved, you feel that this person has a great care for you na kinakamusta ka. So, kumustahin natin sila bukod doon sa mga normal chat na na nangyayari sa pag-uusap natin. So, high functional depression, so it could be na may trabaho siya, successful siya, manager siya, kahit na nag-aaral siya, nasa doctorate degree siya, pero hindi mo alam, high functional lang siya. Mataas lang yung tolerance niya, kaya niya lang i-cope up tong mga to. Pero deep inside, pag uwi niya sa bahay, isolated siya, quiet siya. That's why it's important na lahat tayo, wag maging judgmental, lahat tayo maging kind and extra friendly, extra na kamusta, 'di ba? I-maintain natin yung connectedness natin with each other because we may not know who among us has already this depression, lalo na kung hindi lang sila nagpapa-check up pero clinically pasok sila sa criteria ng may depression. Okay? So ayun.
Okay,
Nasagot ko ba yung tanong niya?
Yeah, okay.
Baka si Sir Lloyd, meron ding mai-share from his experience sa family.
Siguro lang, madali na ngayon makita lalong-lalo na kung family members ninyo. Kasi kung ang family members ninyo ay mahilig mag-social media, minsan tingnan yung angle ng mga posting nila. So I think doon pa lang makikita nyo na kung ano yung mga behavior na nagpapahiwatig sa depression. So kasi yung brother ko, yung mga YouTube content niya sa vlog is more on hugot-hugot. So doon pa lang medyo nakakahalata ka na I think there's something in his experience that ginagawa niya lang itong katuwaan, ginagawa niya lang katuwaan para sa ibang tao. Pero might be meron na pala siyang dinadamdam. So I think yun yung isa. And then, minsan hindi rin kasi madidetect yan lalo na kung talagang hindi talaga nagpapakita ng anything ba. So, you just really have to be a friend to that person para magkaroon kayo ng trust to each other that one day may share niya sa iyo lahat kung ano yung mga dinadaanan niya. Yun lang.
Ayun. So, pahabol lang kay Sir Lloyd, kaya it is really highly necessary for each family members to gain closeness with each other. A regular time with the family na kamustahin natin yung each member of our families kung kumusta sila so that we can protect our family members from experiencing itong mga depression and difficult emotions.
Okay, thank you, Miss Cindy and Brother Lloyd. Another question here. My question is, what if your depression is somehow associated with short of being abused? How can you outmaneuver this kind of situation?
Okay, so kung halimbawang nakakaranas yung isang person ng abuse, ang number one natin sa mental health natin na pinag-usapan natin today is to take care of yourself. At the end of the day, you return to yourself and you give value to yourself, na meron kang self-worth, na you don't allow or you don't allow anyone else to hurt you because you have self-worth. So napaka-importante sa mental health na you know yourself, you love yourself, and you can take care of yourself. Sabi nila, a healthy person knows how to seek help when he is not okay. So kapag nakakaranas ka na ng abuse at tinotolerate mo lang yun sa sarili mo, that is not normal. You need to seek professional help immediately to help you out in that situation. Kasi maaaring hindi mo siya nare-realize o na-abuse siya kasi mahal mo yung tao. So nagkakaroon ka ng codependency dun sa tao dahil pinapangalagaan mo siya. And that would not be helpful for your mental health. So if you love yourself, you would want to be okay in the first place so that you can take care of your other family members as well. At kung sino man yung nagbibigay sa'yo ng abuse na yon, you would want that person to have help also. So kapag nakakaranas ka ng abuse, you have to confess it with a leader, with your bishop, or with a trusted friend or a trusted person and seek for professional help because you need that, because you don't realize to yourself that you are being abused. Maybe you can't even spell out what abuse means kapag na-experience mo na siya.
Okay, thank you. As entrepreneurs, how could we well prepared with our psychosocial behaviors before, during, and after pandemics or disasters, so we could be able to cope up with our present concern? Okay. Sino pwede? Sir James?
Yeah, sure. Well, tulad nung kanina, no, there was and Cindy beautifully reminded us again. But let me just bring back what Ryan Westwood shared with us. And Arsis, if you remember, we also had a wonderful discussion with our chapter leaders on this one. The principle of put on your mask first. You see, brothers and sisters, even as entrepreneurs, it's important that we really take care of our physical and emotional and mental well-being. This is before, during, after. Dapat hindi ho natin matanggal yan, ano? Yung ability natin to really take care of ourselves, or else our businesses would be affected, our families would be affected. And so I know that I think Cindy can also bring some light into this one, but I think one of the things that the best thing that we can do is never forget to really take care of ourselves as well in the process of all of these things that are happening right now. Cindy?
Yes, Sir James. I'd like also to share, ang ganda nung tanong, how can we prepare ourselves, psychosocial behavior before, during, and after the pandemic so we can cope up with our present concern. Isa sa magandang preparation natin is yung tinatawag nilang mental hygiene. A lot of us don't know how to take care of our mental health because we were not told how to do it. Since when we are like 5 years old, we know that when we get wounded, when we have a bruise, or when we have a cut, we cry. We cry, but then after that, we will stand up and we know how to put bandage from our wound, from our cuts, because we know that when we keep it open, it might get infected. So ibig sabihin, nung bata pa tayo lahat, naturuan tayo about physical health. So tatakpan natin siya, lalagyan natin siya ng alcohol band-aid so that it would have healing. Kasi kapag open siya, mai-infect, so hindi siya gagaling. So we were taught. Also, when we were kids, we were taught to brush our teeth 3 times a day because that is part of our physical health. So ang ganda ng naituro sa atin since preschool time. But who taught us about mental health? Who taught us how to be resilient? Na kapag tinutukso ka nung bata ka, nung 5 years old ka, ang payat-payat mo, masyado kang lampayatot, masyado kang, kaya ang taba-taba mo, masyado kang baboy. Who taught us to protect ourselves, to be mentally healthy and strong? Nobody taught us how to maintain a yung mental strength nung bata pa tayo. So ngayon yung question niya, paano ba tayo makaka-gain ng mental health, mental strength during this time? O di ba ang hirap, lahat tayo nag-a-adjust ngayong may edad na tayo. Kaya napaka-importante na i-discuss natin what is mental health, all these terminologies in psychology. Kasi behind tayo. We're behind from all this learning. Ngayon pa lang natin napoprotektahan yung sarili natin. Now going back to the question, we can prepare ourselves for this psychosocial if we will take care of ourselves, we communicate, we give quality time to our family members. Ang ganda actually nung mga church programs natin. Meron tayong family home evening, family scripture reading, family prayer, family counseling. So parang full pack siya it's a bunch of all psychological, spiritual na maibibigay natin sa family natin kapag meron tayong closeness na ganun. Kasi it will start from the family having those healthy habits. Akala natin noon they are only spiritual habits. Pero hindi natin alam, meron din siyang mental habits. So if we will practice all this, we will put all of this together, we can protect and help our family members and ourselves from experiencing depression or any emotional difficulty that we may be experiencing, especially at this time of pandemic.
Okay, may question pa dito, no? Sabi niya, how can we help someone who knows he has debilitating depression but refuse to ask for professional help?
Ayan, nasabi ko yan kanina na at one point or another, we are all vulnerable to anxiety and depression. We just need to accept it. Sabi nga 50%, acceptance is 50% of the cure. So yung question niya is, meron siyang debilitating depression, but that person refuses to ask or seek for professional help. So sana while watching this one, ma-encourage siya to take care of your mental health. Na kapag may nararamdaman tayong sakit or difficulty, we know how to seek help from our family members because we have maintained a close relationship with them. We know how to open up to our friends because we have meron tayong trusted friends. We have invested good friends na meron tayo na we can share it out whenever we're feeling down or we don't feel good. Meron tayong mga mapupuntahang kaibigan. So, kaya napaka-importante na mag-invest tayo sa ating mga kaibigan, tunay na kaibigan, kasi sila yung lalapitan natin kapag emotionally down tayo. So, love yourself.
Okay. And another question here, what hinder to some to ask for professional help or to express their emotions to loved ones is because they were afraid to be judged or to be called weak? What advice can you give para sa mga ganitong tao? Okay, Ma'am Cynthia.
I think the era of being scared or afraid to seek professional help when it comes to mental or emotional illnesses is way beyond us. We are now in the era of acceptance. We, even if the Philippines is quite behind with this issue, there are now many tools and helpline that are available. Because one thing that really hinders a person from seeking professional help is the stigma. So you have to change your mindset. There's no stigma in seeking professional help to make yourself a better person. So sabi nga ni Cindy, it's no different from having a physical illness like the ones that I mentioned a while ago, diabetes and hypertension. You seek help for those things because you want to be well. So being mentally fit and mentally healthy is just the same as being physically healthy. So we have to take out that stigma. We have to take out that fear. And I've sat down actually with a doctor as part of my research. I've sat down and listened to what, meron din kasing tanong kanina dyan, di ba? How much does it take? How long does it take? I actually, as part of my research, sat down with a doctor. It's quite expensive. And I think that's also one reason why people don't go. It's about between 4,000 to 5,000 per session. And every session takes about 3 to 4 hours depending. And your first session would always be an assessment. But I'm telling you, just listening to the doctor go through the assessment with the patient was very refreshing. Kaya pala ho sa Amerika, ang dalas nilang pumunta sa kanilang tinatawag na shrink. Because having someone to listen to your thoughts, to listen to your feelings is really refreshing. When you are able to unload Okay? When you go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, it doesn't mean that you are crazy or nasisiraan ka ng ulo. You just need someone to listen to you. Now, kung wala tayong pera, talk to your spouse. Talk to your parents. Talk to someone. Unload what is bothering you mentally and emotionally. And I'm telling you, it's really refreshing and very therapeutic.
Okay. Another question. Thank you, Ma'am Sin. Another question here. Aside from behavior, is there any physical manifestation of depression?
Okay, physical. So punta tayo dun sa mga clinical symptoms. Ang isang tao na nakakaranas ng depression ay may mga physical symptoms. So it could be na difficulty concentrating, difficulty in sleeping, or could be the other way around, difficulty or oversleeping naman siya. So yun yung mga physical manifestation. Has a lose significant amount of weight, or pwede namang nag-increase naman siya ng weight. So, overeating naman siya, obesity ang nangyayari. Ayun, difficulty on concentrating, losing weight, you can't sleep, na 3 days ka na, 72 hours ka na awake, and you also experiences dysfunction from your work, or isolated ka na, o natanggal ka na sa trabaho because you're poorly performing at work. So those are clinical signs that this person is experiencing depression already, or something is or emotional difficulty that needs to seek yung na agad, professional help or professional expert. So, mapapansin natin yung sarili natin, i-self-check natin kung hindi nag-i-improve yung emotion natin for 2 weeks and beyond. So, those are already the clinical symptoms that we can observe from ourselves, from our family members, and we can refer that to a mental health specialist already. So, yun yung mga physical signs and symptoms. Clinical warnings.
Okay. What?
Jay, can I add to that? Jay, can I add to that?
Yes, ma'am.
Meron kasi ding nagtanong yan dun sa namin, sa stake namin. If it's not you and if it's a loved one, okay, aside from binanggit ni Cindy, pansinin niyo rin po kung merong favorite na gawin dati yung loved one niyo at biglang hindi na niya yun ginagawa. That's one of the things that you have to consider. Even if you offer the same thing or the same activity to that person na talagang gustong-gusto niyang ginagawa before, and suddenly he loses interest in it. That's one sign. That's one physical sign that he's going through something. Probably not necessarily depression immediately, but it would lead to that. So kung may mga anak po tayo na before nag-enjoy maglaro ng sports or nag-play ng guitar or any instruments, and then suddenly they just lost interest and they don't want to be actively engaged in that. That could be one sign that you could also look into.
Thank you, Ma'am Sin. Meron dito nagbigay ng opinion. Sabi niya, one way of dealing with mental health is to look beyond just the brain or mind, but look at ourselves holistically. The mind affects the body affects the mind. Ayan, yan ang kanyang opinion na binigay po dito. Ayan. Okay? Another thing is, what's the best thing to do if ma-trigger ang aking depression, especially kung wala ako makausap?
Okay. Isa pa pala sa important na kailangan natin malaman is that depression is a psychological term. It is a clinical term or terminology. Pag sinabi nating depression, ang makakapagsabi lang na meron tayong depression is a licensed psychologist or a psychiatrist. Kapag sinabi ng kaibigan mo na depressed ka, hindi yun totoo. Pag sinabi ng kaibigan mo or somebody na depressed ka, hindi agad tayo hindi natin agad ibabay yung word na yon, because you should be evaluated by a licensed psychologist or a psychiatrist. So, yung sinasabi natin na depressed tayo, i-evaluate ba natin? Kasi masasabi lang natin na depressed yung tao kapag meron siyang, yung mga na-mention nga namin dalawa ni Ma'am Cynthia, na nagkakaroon siya ng dysfunction with the habits na dati niyang ginagawa, yung mga sleeping habits niya, yung weight niya, kung nag-gain or nag-lose weight siya, so concentrating, yung mga critical thinking niya. So yun yung talagang clinically diagnosed with depression. However, dahil nga meron tayong tinatawag na situational depression, ibig sabihin bumagsak ka sa exam mo. So normal lang na malungkot ka, but only in that period, in that situation. So you would need a friend to cope up well with that difficulty na na-experience mo para maka-move on ka. Pag hindi ka naka-move on sa situation na yon, then you would need a mental health expert to help you. You will undergo therapy to help you with your emotions so that you can go back to your normal functioning again.
Thank you. Okay, ito yung isa na lang na question dito. Any tips paano makipag-interact sa friends mo or kakilala na nakapag-down sa iyo in a way na hindi sila nagtitiwala sa ability mo or opinion mo? Okay, any tips daw paano makipag-interact sa friends o kakilala mo na dinadown ka? Okay. Okay. Si Sir James?
Friends mo na dinadown ka?
Oo po. Dinadown ka, hindi
Yeah.
daw siya, wala daw siyang,
Yeah.
na hindi sila nagtitiwala sa ability mo o sa opinion mo.
Yeah.
So,
You know, Cynthia and I have this favorite youth conference message that we use, the young David and from David and Goliath. It's a great story, by the way, and I hope that you will revisit it. Just very quickly, David was not really a soldier, and that's the reason why in the beginning of the war story, David wasn't even there. David found himself in the war because his father asked him to bring food. Kasi papaubos na yung pagkain nila di ba? Kasi nga, ang tagal na walang lumalaban Si Goliath, panay lang ang hamon niya, pero walang lumalaban. And that's how David found himself in the middle of the war. Now, pagdating ni David doon, here comes Goliath giving his challenge again. Narinig ni David yon. Kaya nagulat siya kasi nobody was reacting. Everybody was just fearing. Nobody was responding to Goliath. And then suddenly the king came up with a new strategy. Nagbigay siya ng pabuya. Sabi niya, whoever can kill the giant will marry the princess, right? Will marry one of my daughters and this and that. Nung narinig ni David yun, tuwan-tuwa siya. So he went around, he wanted to listen to this over and over again. Until finally, habang kakausap niya yung mga soldier, dumating yung kapatid niya. Sabi ng kapatid niya, naggugulo ka na naman dito di ba, ikaw, wala ka namang alam sa gera. Dinadown siya. And then comes this very beautiful passage. It says in the Old Testament, and he, referring to David, turned from him towards another. Sabi ni David, ayoko sa iyo, nega ka, dito ako sa iba makikinig. So David was wise enough to leave yung kanyang negative na kapatid. Kapatid niya na yun, So sabi niya, and read that, I cannot quote it exactly where, but it says there, and he turned from him, his negative brother, towards another. And then he went on to talk to another soldier because he wanted to hear the positive news again. So my tip is, turn from them towards another. You have to look for somebody who would trust you, who would believe in you. And I tell you, there are so many things. If your family are not the ones to believe in you, and your so-called friends are not the ones to believe in you, then they're not really your friends. Unfortunately, we cannot choose our family, but we can choose other better friends. We can choose positive, better people. Okay? So talk to your RC. Sorry, go ahead.
Another one, Jake, di ba, when it comes to our house, di ba, we don't give the key to our house to robbers. Now, the same thing with our mental stability. Let's not give the key to our mental stability to anyone else. else. If this person is proving to be a threat to your mental stability, grab that key back and don't let him in. It doesn't mean that you have to be mean. It doesn't mean that you have to retaliate negatively. Just don't let that person come into your life and affect your mental and emotional stability. Grab the key back. Yun ang maganda dyan kasi you have all the power. Nasa sa'yo lang yan. In the vernacular, sasabihin natin, iwasan mo, besh. Ignore mo lang, besh. Di ba?
Tama.
Don't let him rob you of your happiness, of your mental stability and emotional stability. It's not worth it. The only person that we have to listen to is the one who created us, who is God, who trusts us with all his intelligence to allow us to experience and bless us with a wonderful life in this earth.
Okay.
Ako may pahabol din. Yun sinabi ni Sir James and Ma'am Cynthia. Simply, kapag may mga ganong taong nega sa buhay natin, simply avoid toxic persons. Where it be a family member, a friend, a church member na nega sa'yo, then avoid them. Kung kailangan silang i-unfriend or i-block, then do it because you need also to protect your mental health. So we are in charge of our own mental health. So mas importante yung sarili natin kaysa maging maapektuhan tayo sa kanila, and then maano pa tayo, ma-depress pa tayo or something. So we avoid toxic persons in our life.
Okay. Thank you sa mga mentors natin ngayon. No? Dami nating mga tanong, pero lahat nasasagot ng mga mentors natin. Thank you for that. May tanong dito, yung isa, magkano normally, nasagot na to kanina ni Ma'am Cynthia, yung pa-check up sa psychiatrist, normally ilang months at least ang treatment. And then may isang tanong pa dito, what would be your advice for those people who cannot afford naman to seek professional help but feeling the struggle of depression? Yan. Sige, sino mauna?
Okay, yung word na we cannot afford, if your health is already at stake, I think we really need to do something to afford to seek for a mental health or to seek for a medical help. Like yung sabi ko nga kanina, if you're experiencing a very painful toothache, hindi mo pwedeng ipagpatagal yan ng 1 taon. Okay? Kasi ang mangyayari, mai-infect yung blood system mo, you cannot function. So parang sakit ng ngipin yan. So ganun din sa mental health natin. Hindi mo siya pwedeng sabihin na okay ka pa kasi in reality, hindi ka na okay. So kailangan talaga, you need to hanap ka ng paraan para makapagpasik ka ng professional help because that is what you need if your ailment is referring to mental health issue.
Thank you, thank you.
Merong laging sinasabi yung husband ko sa mga anak ko, no? When you wanna buy something, lagi nilang sinasabi, wag daw yung tanong na, ay, hindi ko kayang bilhin yan, wala akong pera dyan. But rather, the question should be, how can I afford it? When your mindset or your thinking is in the how, or in a solution mode, makakahanap ka how to afford that. If it means you don't have to eat Jollibee for a month, just to be able to come up with the money to pay for the doctor, then so be it. If you want that kind of help.
Yeah.
Ma'am Cynthia, may follow-up pa dito.
Hindi, si Sir James.
Yes, Sir James.
Meron lang isang tanong dito na I don't know kung naano natin yung this is really a good question, Jake, and I think you will read this. How does knowledge of the gospel truths help us overcome depression? Is gospel knowledge not enough to counter depression? That's a great question. And
Yes, sir.
sige, sagutin mo, Jake.
Ako na sasagot okay.
Actually, sinagot ni Cindy yan kanina eh.
Yeah. Okay.
The
Go ahead.
the gospel is an integral part even when it comes to mental health. However, as a standalone, it's not going to be enough. Okay, you have enough faith, that's good, but you have to work also on the other side. And part of that work is seeking the right help. Okay, parang ano ho yan, baradong lababo. Kahit dasalan mo ho yan maghapon, hindi ho yan mawawala yung bara pag hindi ka tumawag ng plumber. Diba? Sabi nga ni Cindy, Kahit dasalan mo ng dasalan yung bulok mong ngipin, ay hindi mawawala ho yan. Pag hindi
Hindi
ka pumunta
kaya
sa...
ng prayer meeting or ano, ayun, pray
That's
for
the
the
word. The
Yeah.
gospel provides the faith and you provide the work.
Well, I think, and we've been repeating this over and over, I think the great thing here is we have to really realize that physical problems are the same as mental problems. Kasi parang hiniwalay natin siya. No? Pagka may physical problem tayo, ang dali nating isipin na, uy, kailangan punta ng doktor. Di ba? Hindi mo naman sabihin na, magpe-pray lang ako, gagaling yung diabetes ko. Hindi, kailangan ka talaga. Pagkatapos mo mag-pray, pupunta ka talaga sa pupunta ka talaga sa doktor, di ba? Even after the prayer, even after everything that you have done, you still sick. So it's natural for physical problems that we think that way. Unfortunately, pagdating sa mental problem, hindi ganun ang treatment natin. But now we're beginning to understand more and more na we have to treat it the same way. Na pagka meron kang mental problem na nararamdaman, parang para talaga siyang toothache. Para siya talagang sakit sa tiyan. Kailangan ka talagang pumunta doon at hindi mo siya pwedeng pikitan lang. Hindi mo siya pwedeng pikitan lang. Kailangan mo talagang i-address 'yon. Kasi nga, 'di ba, yung bang ang tawag natin doon, mami, yung stigma, 'di ba, yung pagka pupunta ka sa psychiatrist, ang tingin na sa'yo ng tao, may tililing ka, 'di ba? And so, may tama 'yan eh. Kaya ganoon. Ang tawag sa atin, may tama, hindi ho pwede 'yon. Bakit pag masakit ang ngipin mo, tawag yung toothache? Pag meron kang diabetes, tawag yung diabetes. Huwag natin tawaging tililing. Hindi yung tililing yun. Mental problem yun. Huwag nating gawing issue yun. And nakakaawa kasi sila tuloy, na ma-marginalize sila. Ganun ang tingin natin sa kanila. So, hindi po dapat. Go ahead, Cindy.
Okay, last na lang to, Sir James. Last na lang to na tanong, and I think lahat na cover na ko natin. Ito ang pinakamatinding tanong sa lahat. How can you avoid if
How to avoid it?
the nega is your spouse?
Ano ba yan, Nega, yung asawa mo?
Talagay dito. Ayan, may mga sagot dyan yung mga, syempre, mga
Ako,
mother.
I'd like to listen to my, couple mentor. Siyempre, the best na sasagot dyan si Madam Cynthia and si Bossing James. I learned a lot from them na, the training o the trainer. Ayan.
Pag nega daw ang spouse. O, ayan, sige. Sige,
On
madam.
the light side, there is what we call divorce. Joke. On the serious side, it's a very complicated question to answer with just a simplistic answer. Okay, there are so many facets to that. So you have to ask yourself, is it really being negative? Or maybe your spouse is telling you another message. Diba? So it's all in the mind. So sabi ko nga, diba, pagka negative thought yan, question that, challenge that. Is my spouse really being negative? Or is she saying something to me na I am labeling that as a negative, being negative? So, and if it's really negative, then find out bakit niya nasasabi yun. So you go through the process of challenging that thought. And eventually, pagka talagang na-prove mo, ay negative nga talaga tong asawa kong to, wala na tong nakita kundi puro negative, then the last question says, how will you now manage that? And then you go through the process of finding a solution to that. Kasi kung wala na ho talagang solution, tawag din ho divorce. Pero I'm sure meron ho yung solution. Okay? It's just a matter of finding and giving a time.
Can I also share? Brothers and sisters, at the end of the day, the most important opinion is your opinion. The most important comment is your comment. So yes, it's tough. It would be tough. I cannot imagine. I'm so happy my wife she's positive about things. She is hopeful about things. Can you imagine, pinakasalan niya ako nung ako po ay second year college student na nagtuturo sa MTC. Kung di ba naman siya positive talaga noon, di ba? Ang tawag ng confidence. But you know what, brothers and sisters, it's sad if you are stuck with a spouse who is negative, who is this and that. No, so nakakalungkot po talaga yon. But I think my word of wisdom, if it's wisdom, is, you know what? At the end of the day, your opinion is the most important opinion of all. Your attitude is the most important attitude of all. And so kung hindi mo siya talaga madadala, sad to say, stay positive. Ikaw, be positive, stay positive. It's gonna be harder than others because tulad si Cindy tsaka si Jake, ako nakikita ko, ako inahangaan ko rin itong mag-asawa na to. They're both positive. I mean, of course, they have their own problems. We have our own problems. Di ba? Minsan, nalulungkot yung isa, minsan negative isa. But generally speaking, pag kayong mag-asawa nagtutulungan, mas madali sa loob ng bahay. But unfortunately, there are really some situations na hindi ganun eh. But you know what? If that's the case, brothers and sisters, you yourself, please stay positive. Continue to do what you need to do so that you can continue to hold on and achieve what you need to achieve. And maybe prove to your spouse someday, di ba? And prove them wrong. Kung hindi sila naniniwala sa negosyo mo, prove them wrong. Kung hindi sila naniniwala sa ideas mo, then continue with it. Yeah, that's what I can add to that.
Okay, thank you so much sa ating mga mentors. Nako, ang dami po kung gustong magtanong. Pero I think this is na-cover na rin ho yung mga tanong natin. May mga opinion pa nga dito, sabi niya dito. Isa na lang po ang opinion dito. Sabi ni King Arthur, simply love her. Overlook the thorns, look at the roses in her. Yan. Yan po ang kanyang opinion na sinabi. So, I think to add on that, yes, sponsor them.
Tama nga, ganda. Stay positive with your spouse. It's really great.
And especially yung spouse natin, Sir James, yan yung asset natin na malaki, di ba? Malaking factor yan sa life natin. Without them, hindi tayo natitrain ng maayos. So I think for me, that is a positive look sa mga spouse po
yung
natin.
spouse daw na until now nega pa, kulang pa sa training, bossing.
Yeah.
Kailangan mag-undergo pa siya ng severe training.
Yeah.
Tama rin. Kailangan din. Kailangan mag-mature din tayo pare-parehas. So, kailangan mag-mature din tayo.
Okay? Thank you so much sa ating mga mentors once again for sharing with us your healthy mental habits po ninyo na sinabi niyo po sa amin ngayon. We definitely learn a lot tonight. Thank you so much. So, we'll still have our closing prayer, pero una sa lahat, pasalamatan ko rin yung mga attendees natin dito sa Zoom, and then dun din po sa mga webinar na umattend ngayong gabi. Thank you so much sa inyo pong lahat. We still have our closing prayer. We invite Brother Ferdy Obias from Cavite Chapter para magbigay po ng closing prayer.
Unmute, Ferdy.
Okay na po. Dear Father in Heaven, nagpapasalamat po kami sa gabi na ito na pinagkaloob niyo po sa amin. Maraming salamat po sa lahat po ng mga bagay na natutunan namin na makakatulong po sa amin upang maging healthy po yung aming mga isipan at patuloy po namin na magawa yung aming mga responsibilidad bilang entrepreneur. Responsibilidad po sa aming mga negosyo, ganoon din po sa aming pamilya. Na may tulungan niyo po kami na yung mga bagay na natutunan po namin ay magamit namin o makatulong po sa amin na makatulong at makagabay din po sa iba upang ma-overcome kung sila mabuhay ng mga mental illness. Hiniling po namin na bless niyo po sana yung mga ex-alumni, especially those who are meron po mga pinagdadaan ng mga problema sa kanilang negosyo na magkaroon po ng solusyon, magkaroon po sila ng kakayahan na makapag-isip at makagawa po ng solusyon upang masolve po yung kanilang mga problema sa kanilang mga negosyo. po sana yung aming mga mentors na patuloy na magkaroon ng mga ideas upang paano kami matutulungan ng mga alumni na mag-succeed po sa aming mga goals. Lahat po ng ito ay hinihiling at pinapasalamatan sa pangalan ng aming Savior na si Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thanks,
Lahat.
Brother.
Okay, para sa ating virtual reunion, ano lang po kayo ni Lloyd, lalagay lang po kayo ni Lloyd sa ating Zoom. Okay? I-open lang kayo ni Lloyd. Thank you, everyone.
Cindy. Excellent.
Yan, paki-open nyo na lang po yung mga video po ninyo. Okay.
Jake, thank you. Magaling kang host. At,
Thank you, Sir James. Ayan, screenshot po yan para sa ating mini virtual reunion. So, si Lloyd na po ang mag-screenshot sa atin lahat.
Okay, Jake, pwede mo ba ako tulungan mag-promote?
Sige.
paano ba yan? Teka.
Sa more lang, Sir James, sa bawat.
Okay. Sige, lahat ng hindi, pwede akong magsimula sa gitna. Sige, more. Promote as panelist.
Wala si Sister Angie. Kamusta?
Mabilis kayo mag-promote. Gumagalaw yung computer ko, hindi ko ma-promote. Mabibilis kayo Promote.
Okay. Okay na. Promote na lahat. Okay. Okay, Si Lloyd na mag-screenshot sa ating lahat.
Alright, sige. Dalawang screenshot tayo ngayon. Dalawa to eh. Okay, give your best smile, brothers and sisters. 1, 2, ready, smile. Okay, one more para naman sa kabila. Okay, ready, smile. Alright, we're good.
Wow. Thank you so
Good night,
much.
everyone. Thank you.
Siguro i-promote ko na kasi pagkakataon na to, marami-rami tayo rito. Next month po, malapit na naman next month, di ba? Webcast speaker po natin, early September is Scott Peterson, who is a very successful entrepreneur and the director for entrepreneurship for BYU Provo. This guy is responsible from bringing BYU Marriott School of Business from number 10 to number 3 in the ranking of the best business schools in the US. So ganun ho kagaling itong ating speaker. Just watch out for our poster and announcement, but that's going to be Mark Peterson, one of the first speakers in the original Academy residential program. Wow. Sige, ba't ako lang nagsasalita? Pwede ko kayong magsalita? Dinner daw po will be provided in your own beautiful kitchen.
Thank you so much.
Natutunan kayo ngayong gabi at hindi namin kayo na-confuse lalo.
Marami po kaming
Salamat po.
Thank you.
Salamat din po
Martin,
sa
are
inyong
those two
patience.
kids? Nakita ko pumasok yung anak ni Catherine Ramirez. Oh, cute. It's good to see our Ate Mona's here. Wow.
Merong magandang quote, di ba? Do you remember that quote? I forgot who said it. I think it's President Irene. Sabi ni President Irene, if we would only know who we are in another life, we will be so sad that we didn't try hard enough. So, wala pong problemang hindi natin kayang solusyonan. Lalo na kung maaalala natin kung sino talaga tayo before we came to Earth. And isa dun sa laging dinidiscuss sa ACE ito yung parable of the talent. Ang isang talent daw, sabi ng aking researcher na asawa, is worth in today's currency, 50 million pesos. So one talent is 50 million. Imagine the trust and confidence of our Heavenly Father to to give us even just one talent. So ibig sabihin, we have the capacity and we have the ability to solve problems. It's just different with each person. Merong mabilis, merong matagal. Nevertheless, we are capable of doing that.
Thank you so much. I have a graduation, my friend, so I'm gonna zoom out. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the night. See you again soon. DJ, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Dinner.
We miss
Thank you so much po.
Dinner lang po tayo.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Good night.
Have a good night.